will it. He will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
And a good Wednesday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. It's a jam-packed hour worth of local, state, and even national sports news. We'll wrap up the trade deadline at the end of the show. We were both right. We thought Verlander would be on the move, and it seemed like Houston was the landing spot, and sure enough, that is the case. And the Astros teammates are so fired up about Verlander coming that Framber Valdez threw a 93-pitch no-hitter last night. So
I thought you said they were so fired up they were banging trash cans. And
not yet. That'll come.
Buying extra buzzers and stuff.
Did any of these moves really affect the outcome when it comes to?
That's a good question.
Down the stretch, divisions into the World Series. We'll find out. Hey, Big Elk head coach Zach Maynard coming 9:30. Catch up with him. See what happened over the summertime for the Big Elk football team. Look forward to what's coming here this fall. Story out of Iowa that I think we're going to unfortunately hear more and more of. Some Iowa State athletes in some hot water over gambling apps. The notable here is presumed starting quarterback Hunter Deckers is one of those four. I read a story about it this morning. 41 Iowa and Iowa State athletes were under investigation so far. These four have been charged. Some different things. Pretty crazy story there. And then also Pac-12. The media deal, the details are starting to leak out on what was proposed by Commissioner George Kliavkoff to the 9 remaining members of the Pac-12 to keep them in the same conference. Kind of tell you about that, and quite frankly, how did it get to this? And see what we think will happen moving forward. Also, question before we do the normal spiel of what we got going on here. 17 years ago today, Jared, seismic event occurred in the world of sports right here in the state of Oklahoma. 225-9698 is the phone to the text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things, whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, stay in touch with the show a couple of ways. Log on to KADSAM.com. Download the app. The app's got it all. It's got radio. It's got the Penny News, brand new edition of the Penny News. Hit the website last night at midnight, thepennynews.com is where you can check that out. Print edition will be picked up this afternoon, start to distribute out tonight, and by tomorrow morning you can go pick up a free copy of the Penny News everywhere. And, of course, Big Elk and Paragon TV also in the app. We're honing in on, 3 weeks from Friday. Game 1 for the Elks down in Altus. And then the Skinny on Sports podcast is available, if you missed the show, just anywhere that podcasts are available. How are you today, Jared?
Good. How are you doing?
Do you know what I'm talking about? No. 17 years ago today.
No clue.
At the time, it seemed like the world was ending.
17 years ago, 2006.
2006.
August of 2006.
I promise you thought about crying. If you didn't.
I got to guess.
Go ahead.
Without looking anything up other than doing the math. Was it when Rhett Bomar got in trouble?
It's exactly what it was.
I remember that.
17 years ago today, Rhett Bomar, J.D. Quinn dismissed from the University of Oklahoma football team. Just at the time, a tragic turn of events for Sooner fans. after Bomar struggled early in his freshman year. But then by the time the season was over, he looked poised to be able to turn around and hand it off to AD, throw it to Malcolm Kelly, whoever else. He looked like he was going to be
Paul Thompson,
a really good quarterback. And
throw it to Paul Thompson.
He was dismissed from the team along with J.D. Quinn, and that led to the first season in years with no names on the back of the jerseys. Paul Thompson switching back to quarterback. And quite frankly, one of the more enjoyable seasons of Oklahoma football outside of maybe October in the Cotton Bowl.
Some would say...
And also AD getting hurt, and also putting a little Idaho College on the map. But that didn't happen until 2017.
Sure.
Or 2007.
Some would say that was Bob Stoops' best coaching year.
Yeah, that was
everything
he
had to navigate off field, and he turned it into a Big 12 championship. Am I wrong?
You're
he
not.
did. Paul Thompson with the rollout against Nebraska every other play.
And that also led to post-game Nebraska, one of the more infamous things in OU football history, the Malcolm Kelly rap.
That's right. Yeah.
And at Arrowhead Stadium in the locker room.
Man, that season itself deserves a 30 for 30 for everything that it gave us. 17 years ago. Yeah, but I remember when that came down, he thought, as Sooner fans, I was like, man, just come off an abysmal 2005.
But
and now this. But there was some solace in the fact that, well, there's still Adrian Peterson.
Well, and Bomar showed signs of becoming a pretty good quarterback as that season, beating Oregon in that bowl game.
Yeah.
You know what else happened in 2000? My gosh, 2006 does need a 30 for 30. You know what else? Speaking of Oregon, the onside kick game was in 2006.
That was that game.
Yeah.
Where they cheated OU a win.
What a fascinating season that was.
Man, there's a lot of crazy up and downs in that season. Crazy stuff. But yeah, Bob Stoops did a good job. There was the 2000 year, obviously with the national title, but then some would say for everything that was happening off the field and around the field, the off-season stuff, the injuries, the controversy in Eugene, and he still was able to navigate that team to a Big 12 title.
Yeah, truth is, if that Eugene thing doesn't happen, there's a decent chance that Oklahoma's playing Ohio State and not Florida in the Fiesta Bowl that year with the way everything shook out. Anyhow, I thought that would make it'll make you feel old. Another thing about that season.
Yeah. Thanks for making me feel old. It felt like yesterday. What?
That's the last time AD played. Adrian Peterson's last season. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like it was 17 years ago.
I was at that game, by the way.
When he broke his collarbone, I was playing golf in Clinton.
When he scored, it pretty much made it put the game away. It was against Iowa State. Am I wrong? And me and my buddy were like, "It's over. Let's get out of here." So we were making our way out. Got in the truck. Once the game was over, listening to post game, and that's when the news broke. And man, we didn't run off the road. We were like, we were deathly silent.
That was the crazy part about it, was that it wasn't anything you knew right then.
He didn't.
It took a while for
he
for
popped
the news
up,
to
he
break.
Walked off,
right.
And you didn't really see him. When you went back to the tape and it zoomed in, you could see he was kind of favoring that arm. But you think, it's just a football thing. Might have been a stinger or something.
Yeah.
Such a freak accident, too, the way he fell. But
good stuff.
Yeah, crazy season. That was nuts.
It was a crazy year. It was a crazy year in college football. It started 2 in a row. That 2006 season was wild, and then the 2007 season was just bonkers. Led to a 2-loss national champion with LSU, and all the different teams that had chances to be in that BCS title game, and all of them fell by the wayside, and LSU ended up getting the nod. No, it was a pretty wild one as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pac-12, we talked a bunch about it yesterday. The media deal, the media rights deal is starting to leak out, so a few details about it. And I just don't understand how we came to this as far as the Pac-12 becoming this irrelevant. So it's stream-based. Apple TV is what essentially looks like Apple is the only person willing, the only entity willing to broadcast Pac-12 games. And I don't know how willing they really are, because no numbers out, but what you did find out was significantly lower than they had hoped, which obviously means lower than what the Big 12 is getting at the $31.7 million that kicks in next year. So it's definitely lower. The caveat is it can improve. The numbers could improve and potentially be competitive with the Big 12 and the ACC, but it's entirely subscription-based, meaning subscription numbers have to get to a certain level before the money increases, and we don't even know where the money starts. And so a couple of questions I have is, how can you ever know? There's no way to ever know what you're going to get until the year is over. And then how in the world do you budget an athletic department off of that uncertainty?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's not a very good deal. It does not appear to be. And the fears have been realized with the streaming service. Nothing is, even if I don't know, man. I mean, would you be willing? I feel like I always give Apple my money anyways in some form or fashion, and now I don't pay for Apple TV. Would you want to do, if your team was there, would you okay, I'm going to get my subscription now and get ready for the Pac-12 on Apple TV, or would you be on the other side going, I want my team out of that conference?
Oh, 1,000,000% that way. If it was
right?
If it was a choice, I mean, you bring up the entire problem in my mind with this for that conference. One of the big negatives you hear about the Pac-12 in the first place is nobody cares. There's so much other stuff to do. It's on the West Coast. It's so much more laid back. It's not. They don't have the same passion, and so when a lack of passion and a lack of caring is baked into how you increase your money intake from your media partner, that seems like a losing proposition for the Pac-12. You already don't know how much it's going to be, but you do know it's less than what you could get in the Big 12 that provides the stability of a guaranteed payout, and also the stability and the exposure that comes along with being partners with ESPN and Fox. I don't see, if I'm a fan of Arizona State, Utah, and quite frankly Oregon and Washington, even though they may have their eyes set somewhere else. But if I'm a fan of one of those that legitimately can leave, I am calling whoever you're supposed to call to get the hell out of there.
100%.
Because this is going to be spun by certain people in the media, and it's the ones, basically the elitist media that's been on the Pac-12 is better than the Big 12 train this whole time, and now you're a lot more quiet on Twitter all of a sudden. But it's still going to be spun as hey, it's the new frontier. The Pac-12 is ahead of the game. They're on the cutting edge of media. No, they're not.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
Because
nobody cares.
Trammell made a good point yesterday, something I failed to realize. I didn't know the Pac-12 network was subscription-based. I don't know where to get that network. Is it picked up on Dish or Direct or...
That's one of the big problems with what Larry Scott did.
Yeah, I don't know where that's at, but he said it is heavily subscription-based. It relies heavily on users subscribing to whatever service that network provides, or if it's like an app or whatever, which I said earlier this week. I mean, that's something that could be a launching point or a test, Could it work? Could a streaming service for a conference work? Test it out. And I think it's clear it did not work for the Pac-12. So and again, I'm giving credit to Trammell who said this. I think it was yesterday. So it's mind-boggling that they'd see what they had and how it didn't work, and then go, okay, well, let's continue this. Go to what is clearly, 100% subscription-based Apple TV, it's relying on the user, and let's just continue that same model, Apple will save us and Apple will pay us, it's going to fail. I mean, the Longhorn Network did not work. So could you imagine if they, you know what I'm saying? Like if they move, like, hey, Longhorn, you know, what if ESPN said, okay, hey, yeah, Longhorn Network, not so good, but we're going to continue it in some form or fashion when you move to the SEC, which we have never heard anything about what the Longhorn Network.
It'll just be folded into the SEC network.
Exactly.
But here's the problem with that. That was the third tier rights. These are the first. This is the money. I mean, the long-term network for obviously it worked out for Texas, didn't for ESPN in the way they hoped it would. But even, I mean, that's after. Those things are all after your major TV deal. The problem for the Pac-12 is this is their major TV deal.
Yeah.
This isn't for the the volleyball and the one game a year in football or whatever. This is it. This is all they got. That is crazy to me to think how far they have fallen. But what you're saying is,
imagine this. Imagine if it was like, OU fans are up in arms every time that one game is on that pay-per-view, or in this case now it's on the Sooner Vision on ESPN Plus, which is actually a little bit more accessible for some fans and more willing to get that. I know I am. I feel like I'll pay for the full year of ESPN Plus and get that game as a bonus. But it's in that vein. Like, imagine being told
every game
as an OU fan,
Texas is on ESPN Plus.
That drive people crazy. The South would burn. I mean, OU and Texas would go crazy. Fans would go nuts.
That's what this is.
Yes.
And oh, by the way, just because you already subscribe to Apple TV, you don't automatically get these games. You have to pay extra.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay extra.
Because I was kind of wondering, like, well, do I even have Apple TV? I'm not sure. Sometimes they give it to you when you get, like, a new device. I wasn't sure. And I was messing around. I was like, no, I don't get it. I don't get Apple TV. But you have to pay more on top of what you're already paying?
That is correct.
That is a horrible business model.
That is correct. So, give me your prediction. What happens?
We told you earlier in the listeners, we've told you what we want. I think what will happen, and I didn't realize this until our texter texted in, and then right after our show, they were talking about that Arizona State and Arizona are their Board of Regents is one. They oversee both schools, so that has to tell you that's a package deal. It kind of screams it.
Not necessarily, because UCLA and Cal are the same way.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Now UCLA has to pay Cal like $10 million in perpetuity because they split. But
okay, like
anyhow,
a one-time payment?
No, every year.
Every year, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, again, I still think they're connected a little bit more than those two schools you mentioned because they're the only two big dogs in that state. I think realistically, I think what happens is Arizona State come, and I think Utah does too. I think they're like, yeah, this deal isn't. We can get more money in the Big 12. We'll play with BYU and get paid more and be in a more stable conference.
And I think it's a lot of perception, right? A lot of these, Arizona State doesn't want to look like, even though since they have the same regents, that it's just the way it is.
Like they're following.
Like they're following. Utah doesn't look like they're following, but guess what? For $10 to $12 to $15 million a year, that stuff goes by the wayside. And oh, by the way, people getting to watch your product and you having a chance. I think the one thing that we kind of say, the exposure to it. What does that mean though? In actuality, that means your team gets worse because you can't recruit anybody because nobody can watch them play.
Exactly. We touched
that's
on
what
that.
when you're talking.
If families can't, I mean, you got these families that they have. Johnny's a really good running back, maybe a 4-star, 5-star kid coming from the middle class. Like, we can't afford. We have to watch. You know what I mean?
Well, and especially think about Oregon has done some pretty major damage over the past decade or so since they become kind of the chic, cool team. They've done some pretty major damage in the state of Texas from a recruiting standpoint. Some really good players. Mm-hmm. Well, most families aren't going to be able to fly to Eugene every other weekend to watch their kids play. It's just the reality of the situation. And to be able to not flip it on to ABC or ESPN or Fox or wherever, to be able to watch, that's no good at all. And I just think, here's what you're seeing. There's no way this is going to happen for a lot of these teams because of that. Because they could see the writing on the wall of, oh, my Lord, what is our football program going to become when nobody can watch? If Oregon is chopped down in the woods and there's nobody around, does anybody hear it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think the timeline, with what's leaking out there, and the not having, I mean, they don't even have a guarantee necessarily of money. I mean, there is certainly a floor there, I guess, but there is no chance in the world, if I'm one of those four corner schools, that I'm not banging on the desk of whoever you got to bang on. Get me out of here. Get me out of here.
Now, this is wild theory, but would it be more attractive not only for the money in a more stable conference, but these schools, without knowing, I looked this up, Utah, Arizona State, they're in a mountain time zone, avoiding some of those, what would be us for 9:30 games, more attractive game times. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Which brings more eyeballs to the screens.
Oh, sure.
So we don't have to play these night games anymore. We can more attractive times to play.
Well, and of course for the Big 12, it gets you into 3 different time zones, not all the way stretched out to 4, because Arizona's there too, aren't they?
Arizona's weird. They're in the mountain time zone,
but they
but
don't change.
They don't recognize.
So it does get you then.
Yeah.
So they don't spring forward, so they get to 2 hours behind.
Right, but they eventually get that hour back, right?
Yeah, I think in the wintertime. So yeah, maybe
but in
wintertime.
the fall, what is
they
it
get
in football? What is it? So is it 2 hours in football?
I think it's both.
Right now
I think it's actually both. I think it starts out 2 and it goes to 1.
Because right now
when
it's
the time changes.
7:21 a.m. in Phoenix.
That's right. And so first half of the season it would be 2. The last little bit it'd be 1.
Well, I mean,
starting in November,
yeah.
I guess. But yeah, I
who
think
wouldn't
that's a
want to
great
go
point.
to Arizona if you're a Big 12 school in November?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Right?
Real quick, another thing that popped out there yesterday is, Iowa State and Iowa, for that matter. I know there's 41 student athletes that were under investigation for some violating gambling rules. One of the guys that has been charged now is the presumed starting quarterback at Iowa State, Hunter Deckers. This does not look good. Playing football is a long ways away from him. It's the least of his worries.
Oh, yeah.
This
is like criminal stuff, right?
Oh, yes. He wasn't 21, so he wasn't of legal age to bet, so his parents had to help him kind of mask his age to be able to make the bets. He put down 366 bets totaling $2,799. 26 of those bets were on Iowa State athletic events, one of which was the 2021 football game in Stillwater. Now, he did not play.
Yeah, that was my next question.
He did not play.
In any of
he
these
did not
events?
play.
All right.
He was the backup quarterback.
Yeah, he could have played.
Yeah. So it's him and a couple other guys, one of which is with Denver. I can't pronounce his name, Aswarike or something like that, which he's already been suspended by the NFL for violating the gambling policy. But he also goes back to Iowa State here, too.
So he was gambling while he was
Both.
in the NFL and while he
Yes.
was at Iowa State.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is something that
Man.
this is going to be one of those things, though, that I'm telling you right now. You do not throw stones from your glass house. Like, when it comes to the gambling,
Yeah.
if you're not going to go, ha, 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 you guys got caught, because eventually somebody from everywhere is going to get caught.
It almost gives you a pause when, and it's coming, sports gambling is legal in Oklahoma, because it just opens up those doors and opportunities for kids. But here's the thing for Deckers, though. I mean, you were a highly recruited quarterback coming out of high school. You're in the NIL era. Did you need the money? Could he not find an NIL deal to satisfy that need for that money, or is it just for fun? I don't know. I don't. It's hard for me to understand.
I wonder.
I mean, if I'm that dude, you are the man on campus. I mean, he was supposed to take that next leap this year. he could find we mentioned Bomar. He could find a Bomar deal and it'd be legal nowadays.
Here's what I wonder, and I just got the same text. That many bets for that little amount of money, I'm wondering if he even thought a thing of it. Oh, it's FanDuel's. It's a $5 bet. You know what I'm saying?
Point. Yeah. I mean, I've done that. I've done the FanDuel.
Or the DraftKings.
I've done it
right.
like on a NASCAR race just for fun to see what could happen.
And I wonder if you do that and you don't even realize what you're doing.
Right.
Now, betting on Iowa State itself is probably a different story than that. But I just wonder, it's like, oh, everybody's doing it. Hey, yeah, this would be cool. Let's put $2.50 on this game or what have $2.50. And then all of a sudden,
yeah,
a couple years later, now not being 21 and his parents having to kind of set the thing up for him, that's probably not a great look. And
good job, Mom and Dad. Come on.
And I wonder if that's what tampering means. Tampering with the evidence, or it is just because he's underage and it has to be.
Are his parents going to get in trouble here?
You would certainly think so. But right now the story's more about Hunter Deckers and
yeah.
other Iowa State athletes than what it is with the parents. So
let's go to the top. I mean, is Matt Campbell, is he getting looked down upon? Like you had no control here, or he's just saying, this was happening behind my back, I had no clue?
I don't see how in the world he's supposed to be able to police
how many
that.
ISU football athletes were involved in this?
Just two so far, three so far. But, I just don't – he can't be sitting on the – what they're sitting there watching the NFL going, I think the Chiefs are going to win today, da-da-da. And they fire off $5 bets. It's going to be a really, really slippery slope,
How long has gambling been legal in the state of Iowa at this capacity? Because who was the baseball – that was up in where? The Alabama baseball thing.
That was at Cincinnati. I was actually at a Cincinnati Reds game.
Gotcha. I mean, this is new, and there's some confusion on what you
2019
can and cannot do. Fairly new, not horribly
online
old.
Sports betting in 2019.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. It's something to look.
It just goes to show you there's nothing to do in Iowa.
Shut corn.
And make bets.
Like I said, Jared, I don't think you need to be throwing your stones from your glass house for you from Oklahoma.
I'm not doing any illegal betting. I'm not doing anything like that.
Not yet.
Nope.
You wouldn't bet if it was legal?
If it was legal?
Yeah.
I'd do it the legal way.
Well, that's what they did.
No, he was 20.
Well, rules against it. We'll be back. It's almost here.
In motion is Patton. It's going to be that trap play to Garbarino up the middle. That's a 30, 35-40, 45-50, 45-40, 35-30, 25-20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Big Elks! Cooper Garbarino, 77 yards.
We're closing in on the start of Big Elk football, which means Big Elk TV will be on the air before you know it.
Wynn and Garza are the running backs. Jones under center. Austin, snap, turn, hand off to Wynn. Jaden piles toward. It's a touchdown for the Big Elks.
You'll be able to watch and see if Coach Maynard's brown and white clad Elks can continue their winning ways.
Snap back, play action, lobs it toward the end zone. He's got a man. It's a touchdown for the Big Elks. Tucker Garza.
To get your business on the Big Elk TV screen, call 225-9696 or stop by our office at 220 South Pioneer.
The Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back, Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the sports animal. Hanging out in studio on a Wednesday, and we are pleased to be joined by the second-year head coach of the Elk City Elks. It is Mr. Zach Maynard. Coach, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Man, how was the summer?
It's been good. We've had a good summer football-wise, and I think everybody got to relax a little bit, and families and coaches and players alike. And, I think now everybody's just ready, biting at the bit to get after it.
How's participation in the weight room this summer?
It's been very good. We average, 50, 55 a week based, even with church camps and vacations and things like that going on. This week we started mandatory weights at 3 p.m. And we've had roughly 70 there, and that's even with a handful that are at church camp right now. So it's been good.
Why is that important to get those numbers during the summer?
Well, it just shows buy-in. Just like anything else, lots of times they don't have to be there, but it shows buy-in, it shows character, discipline at getting up at 6 a.m., doing things right all the time. And so that's so big for us, is because just being there is a huge part of the battle. But what we've tried to do this summer is tell them, hey, look, just getting here is not good enough. Everybody across the state of Oklahoma is working out. We have to approach this thing with a certain intensity and a certain way of going about it. And ultimately, the development of the player, of the individual, I think we took huge strides. Obviously we lift year round, but we took huge strides this summer in just developing some young guys physically and even mentally.
Yeah, I saw one of them, Cooper Garbarino, was in here the other day, and he doesn't look the same as he did as a skinny dude coming from from Houston 2 years ago. Yeah,
I think he's gained 20 pounds since last fall. And he's not the only one. You got lots of guys like that. Tucker Garza's gained 20, 25. Reese Burton's gained 20, 25 pounds. Catch Gino just keeps getting bigger. Logan Webb's gotten bigger. Our offensive linemen and our pups are the kids who were freshmen last year to sophomores this year. You wouldn't recognize them. Obviously that's just putting in work, doing things right, treating your body right, and getting after it. And couldn't be more proud of them and all of the whole group. There's lots of guys who are going to step into new roles this year. Much like we were sitting here this time last year having the same conversation. So we're excited about that and really think that they've paid the price thus far to allow themselves to put themselves in a good position.
Summertime isn't just about that, though. You guys also are, and one of the things that attracted me to you last summer so much is you're also out helping in the community. Tell us about a couple of those projects you did with the community outreach, and one of them kind of came about out of necessity due to the weather.
Yeah, we had, we tried to help pick up on the 4th of July, and we got out there this year, and it was almost all cleaned up. So, kudos to the city for that, because it was a neat deal. And then of course, the storms blew through, and I think I texted you talking to you about trying to do something and getting our kids involved and helping the community, and so we saw the limbs and picked a day, and really it turned into 2 or 3 days of picking up limbs, just because of you don't, until you really get out and drive around, you don't realize how bad it really was. It wasn't just like it hit one neighborhood. It was town wide and community wide, and so obviously I think that was a good growing experience for some of our kids, and it was good for us to get out and see the community and help the community.
Did you save the limbs for like an upcoming bonfire after a pep rally or something?
No, but I there's a place north and west of town that I guarantee you it would burn for 10 days because that landfill is completely full.
Yes, it is. I'm blown away. It blows my mind when you say, well, last year was his first year. It feels like you're in year 4 at this rate because of you mentioned the buy-in and the kids getting at it. So what's the whole process been like from this time last year up till now? Obviously, the season was fantastic. We mentioned the off season. What was spring football like? Kind of run down that for us.
Spring was good. It was a good time to get the kids out there and just kind of see what we had, and we schematically just figure out what maybe fits these kids differently than the group before. Not changing everything under the sun, but changing the things that need to be changed in order to fit our group of kids. And good for our coaches to get out there and just see who can do what, and if when something needs to be changed or moved. That was the process more from a coaching standpoint, from a schematic side. And then really all summer, like we've kind of talked about it, that's more about mental and physical toughness and things that, I told our staff yesterday, and I told our kids, if we're not tough and we're not disciplined and we're not physical and we don't do the right things, it doesn't matter what play we run. It doesn't matter if we're 5 wide throwing it 50 times a game or we're in 3 back double tight and running it 50 times a game. It ain't going to work if we're not intense, if we're not disciplined, if we're not physical and tough. It's not going to matter. So, that's been my thing all the way up until now, and really it'll be that way for me almost all season, just because that's, as being the head coach, that's my job, is to make sure I get that out of them, and I've got a great staff. Those guys work their tails off, and they really get to focus more on the X's and O's, and it's really more on me to demand the attitude and the effort and the discipline.
We're talking to head coach Zach Maynard of the Big Elks. To that point, staff has changed a little bit. Tell us about some of the new guys that have come on board this year.
Yeah, Coach Fisher made a move to the intermediate assistant principal. So we brought on Coach Zach Josie from Chickasha. He coached at Hollis a couple years ago. That's when I met him, and very like-minded, offensively and defensively. So he's going to be calling the offense this year. Still have, Coach Shane and Shyler Thornton, two outstanding young coaches, and Coach Cooper, who's also a young, outstanding coach. He handles all our strength stuff. Shane's going to take control of all our special teams. And then obviously Coach Eastham, who will be our defensive coordinator, and he's done an outstanding job. Been with him for 2 years now. He was on staff when I was with Coach Meadows that year, and so obviously those guys do an outstanding job. And then Coach Green, I got Coach Green to go down and be the head junior high coach. Needed some help there with Coach Gino. Wanting to take just a little break and watch his daughters play softball, which is absolutely fine. That's family's number one. And so we added Coach Peffer back to the high school staff, and Coach Peffer will help with the outside linebackers and slots. So obviously very excited about them. A bunch of outstanding men, high character men, and so excited about where we're at staff-wise.
So with Coach Josie at the helm of the offense, will or how will the fans kind of see a difference from this year from last year?
It will look the same, but different.
Okay.
The whole, last year we said here, and said, what's the difference going to be offensively from? It's going to be the same, but it's going to be different. This year it's going to be the same, but it's going to be different. The same procedures. If you can't run the football, you're not going to win high school football games. And if you can't throw it at times, you're not going to win football games. There was times last year Austin Jones made some incredible throws that won us football games. I think back there's a play against Clinton where we go just score on that drive, and he completes a 10, 15-yard pass to Cooper Patton. The throw against Weatherford on 3rd and forever. Ends up being a touchdown. And so, obviously there's games like that where you have to do things. We are going to try to be more explosive. We are going to try to do some different things. But ultimately, I will pull my hair out if we can't run the football. So it will start there.
You mentioned Jones, and there's other seniors that have moved on. How do you replace them? And, how do you – they gave you a lot of production and a lot of did a lot of good things over their time here. Mm-hmm. How, as you as a coach, say, okay, we got to fill their void? How do you do that?
Well, I think it's a group effort, and it's the coaching staff. Number one, knowing that, hey, we talked about this yesterday. Last year we could line up and say we're running right here, and there's not much you can do about it. We're going to hand it to Levy Owens. Mm-hmm. He's going to get 4 or 5, and we're going to put him right behind Aiden Long and Logan Trevino, and there ain't not much you boys going to be able to do about it. We're not necessarily going to be that way this year, but those kids that are going to fill those voids have a different skill set. So it's on our job to put them in a position to be successful. And so we take great pride in that. We've been up there all week, been up there all summer working on ways to put, guys like Jaden Wynn and Cooper Garbarino and Alonzo Gino and Ketch and those guys and Logan Webb in positions with their individual skill set to be successful offensively and defensively. So, that's number one on us. Number two is, our kids have to understand that I'll just be frank. The days of Elk City being good and waiting for good classes or waiting for that class of 18 seniors, for me, that's over. I don't look down the barrel and go, we're going to struggle when this class gets up here, or we're going to be really good when this class gets up here, or we need to wait for, if I can just wait till this, that's not who I am, that's not what I'm about, and I don't think that's not what my coaching staff is about, and that's not what our players are about. We're going to win now, we're going to win the right way by doing it the right way, and if that means we go 14-0 and win a state title, great. If that means we go 8-3, great, because we did the best we could, we gave it everything we had, and at the end of the day, that's where we're at as a program, but I don't foresee us going anywhere but being consistent, because our kids now, they want it, and that's the most important thing.
What's the schedule like between now and the opener a couple of weeks from here against Altus?
Oh, we're going to be up there at 3 p.m. today. We've been up there at 3 all week. Thursday we'll be up there at 3 again. They'll have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. We'll lift at 6 a.m. on Monday, the 7th, and then practice at 4. And then we'll practice at 4 the rest of the week until school starts, and then we're in to school week. And then, Saturday, I believe, is pitcher day. We'll take pitchers at 8 a.m. And 10 o'clock, we'll have our little brown and white inter squad, which will be we'll practice offense for an hour and do some pride drill, and then we'll tee it off for 45 minutes and call it quits and enjoy our weekend, and then we're in game week. With the El Reno, we'll treat it like a game week so that when it does come around, we're not shocked. But we're excited, and I think that with the way our kids are right now, it's a great time to be in Elk City. It's a great time to be around the program, and obviously everybody's welcome to come out on Saturday and check that out. It'll be over there on the practice field.
Yeah, it'll be August 12th, Saturday, August the 12th is that media day. Hanging out with Coach Maynard of the Big Elks. So as you get prepared here these next few weeks leading up to that to the opener against Altus, how much are you working on you versus how much are you maybe preparing for Altus eventually?
Well, we're going to spend 4 weeks working on us. You can go ahead and go past the Carl Albert game. We will be working on Elk City Elks. And then once we get into district play, that's when we'll start maybe pulling some strings to, hey, maybe we need to do this to beat these guys, or we need this or that. But right now we're going to worry about our base stuff. I think, and I say that, you go back to the Canadian game when we tied it up, and there's about 3 minutes left, I threw a defensive front out there that I didn't want to throw out there. I wanted to save it for later. But had an opportunity to win a game, you take it. The same thing with the Texas Oklahoma special, the 2-point play where we roll right and throw it back left to the tight end. I wanted to save that for a special time. Well, that game turns out was very important. It's very important for our kids confidence-wise. And so, we'll have things like that are already built in, but things that there's always something you want to keep in your back pocket for a special time. And it just so happened that night we had a couple of those, and it was a heck of a game. So, but yes, as far as weekly practice, we're working on us. We're getting better at what we do, who we are, and then hopefully by week 5 we've got everything that we are in, and we're comfortable with it, and then we can start throwing some things out there that are what I would call specials.
And so, yeah, non-district and district is kind of where that line stops. It's all you, and then you start working on more of a game plan against a certain opponent in the district play.
Correct.
Going in the district this year as defending district champs, now there's going to be that target on your back. Is that something that you'll use as motivation, or it is what it is?
Oh, I'm under the impression, and maybe this is just from my background where I'm from and my dad's deal, we're going to get to the point to where it's always going to be on us. And so you might as well just embrace it and know. And it's like I tell those guys, our players and our coaches, somebody's always watching. So if you slack a rep, somebody knows, and we can't do that because somebody's watching. Well, same thing on Friday night. You put that target on your back. What you put on film, when the other team gets it, you want to make sure that they go, oh, man, we're in trouble. They're going to be tough. They're going to be physical. They're going to do things right. And it's just a message you get to send to an opponent every week. And so, I think that, obviously the target, you're right, is on our back. And so, but my impression is, my thought is just embrace it and be excited about it because there's only 4 teams in the state of Oklahoma who won those last year. So we need to embrace it and be ready to go try to do it again.
Hanging out with Coach Maynard of the Big Elks, lots of talk about said schedule. Obviously, with what Carl Albert's bringing out here from a recruitable athlete standpoint, Canadian is going to be a fun one going out there with the way that game transpired. And, of course, when you look at all the district prognostications, it's kind of right here down I-40 with us, Clinton, Weatherford. Just talk about how those early games in the non-district will get you ready and how they did it again last year, got you ready for those district battles.
Well, start with Altus. Altus, Coach Jeremy Reed came back. He's the one who was there in, 15 or 16 when they were really good and won it. He's an outstanding coach. He knows the game. They'll just be better. They returned a bunch of sophomores who started last year. They're just going to be better. That'll be a tougher game than it was last year. We'll have to have our ducks in a row. And, Canadian presents a challenge in and of itself. I think mentally we're probably more prepared for them than we were last year because you try to see it on film and they don't have a live stream, so it's hard to tell really how fast they're going. And it was, besides just hearsay, for about a quarter, it was pretty mind-boggling. So anyways, that's where that's a great challenge in and of itself. And, the Carl Albert deal, that we went there to their place last year. They owe us a return. We're not going to have 2 bye weeks before we play Clinton. And, it's like I told our kids, if someone calls me and wants to play, we're going to play. We're not running from anybody. We have nothing to hide. If they want to play, they can just drive down I-40. We're just a short jog out here, and let's play the game. And whatever happens, but we're going to play the best that we can. And if we give it our best shot, then it is what it is, no matter what happens. But it's always a great test because, Carl Albert's going to show up, and you're not going to see anybody faster than them. You're just not in any class. So for the speed of the game, a lot of times I think that you play a game like that and then you go play another one and maybe it goes, man, it's a lot slower. We're beating it to the punch, whereas we were behind last time. So, that's just me. That's my mentality is you want to play, let's play. And we'll play anywhere. If you want to play in the parking lot, we'll play in the parking lot. So I relish it. I think it's a great opportunity for our kids and to really see measuring stick to see where we're at. And then you get in the district play, and it doesn't matter anymore. If we go 4-0 in non-district and beat Carl Albert and beat Canadian, it's not going to mean anything. It will be cool. We'll talk about it on air for 2 weeks. And then ultimately, if Clinton shows up and we don't produce against Clinton, it means nothing.
Right.
And the same thing if we go 0-4. If we go 0-4 and then we go on a run, it means nothing. Mm-hmm. It's just a number until you get to that week 0, and then not week 0, but the bye week that we have. That's when the real season starts. Everything else is just getting ready for that season. And once you get there, you got to fight to be in the top 4. And once you get to the top 4, a whole nother season starts.
You good?
I'm excited.
I am too. No, I still got more.
Okay.
What's the guys that left? I mean, obviously you had the district player of the year, an all-stater in Cooper Patton, an all-stater in Logan Trevino. There's going to be position battles. Give us an idea of kind of where those are on the field offensively and defensively that you guys are looking for through the rest of the fall camp.
Everywhere.
I knew you were going to say that.
No, I mean, there's lots of positions. There's every position. That's the good thing about having 70 kids out. Mm-hmm. If you want to play, don't do anything to hurt yourself and do everything you can to make yourself better. And then that way, when the door does open, if you're not the starter, you're ready to walk through it. I think you can go back in the last 2 years. We've had kids who at certain times were ready to go when the door was opened, and they helped us. Jaden Wynn last year, he had himself ready to go whenever Levy needed a breather. That way, we didn't lose a step offensively. Same thing with Tucker Garza. Same thing with Matthew Thompson. You can go down the list of guys who, we got into a bind. Somebody step up. Carson Price did it a couple times last year and ended up starting. So there's lots of those spots, and you need depth at all of them. And so, offensive line, defensive line, I really mean all of them because when you start talking about doing it the right way and doing it the right way all the time, that means that the door always has to be open this time of year for anybody. And we do. We've got a lot of kids who are really competing, really getting after it, and trying to be what they're being asked to be.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think that goes hand in hand with having 70. If you got a bunch of kids that are coming out there knowing, this guy's going to play and they're not going to give me a shot, it's a lot harder to get up for those weights at 6 a.m. It's a lot harder to buy in like you've had the buy-in from all the kids all through the grades. Yeah, no, I think numbers, there's always strength in numbers. And you have to have numbers, especially competitive numbers. You hear Brent Venables talks about it all the time. They've got 120 kids on scholarship, but they've got 30 who can play.
They don't have competitive numbers, or haven't. And I'm not saying that, I'm not comparing us to OU by any means, but we've got 70 kids, and they're all going to be able to compete at some point in their career for a starting job, whether it's a freshman or a sophomore or junior or senior. Whenever they get to that road, as long as they have prepared themselves to walk through that door when that door opens, because I promise them, if you'll do things right and you'll work hard, you'll be disciplined, you'll do things right in the classroom, in the community, the door will eventually open for you. Maybe not this year, freshman, maybe not next year, sophomore, but eventually the door will open, and if you're ready to walk through it, it's going to be your job. So that's how we kind of go about it. That's how I like to go about it, and I think that our kids relish that and understand that, it may not be my time now, but one injury, one problem, and now I'm the one who's got to be the man. And so that's kind of what you better be ready to walk through the door when it opens.
Last one for Coach Maynard. Semifinals the last 2 years. Where or what does this team need to improve upon to get to that last level and get to play for the 4A state title?
Well, it's probably me, just being real honest. That there's some things that I, looking back at that semifinal last year, there's some things that I could have done differently to help us out. And ultimately, you want to win the district and put yourself in the best position possible. But as we saw the previous year, it doesn't really matter as long as you get in. There's just going to be some things where we've got to be tough and deal with. The process is still the same. The process has gotten us there. What it's going to take is one more. We talked about it yesterday in the weight room. It's just one more. And one more rep, one more sprint, one more catch, one more, whatever it is, tackle, one more finished, whatever it is. And really, if you look at the schedule, you get to semifinals, it's just one more. And so one more play, one more, whatever it is, one more second. That's all we're looking for. And hopefully that mentality will take over and make us tougher and help us get to that position.
Thank you, man. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Head coach Zach Maynard of the Big Elks. They get going with the scrimmage, the 18th up at El Reno. Come on out a week from Saturday, the 12th. It's Picture Day, Media Day, and then also an inter-squad scrimmage. And then, of course, the opener, 25th of August, down in Altus. Take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up here on the Skinny on Sports 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. It's almost here.
In motion is Patton. It's going to be that trap play to Garbarino up the middle. That's a 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Big Elks! Cooper Garbarino, 77 yards.
We're closing in on the start of Big Elk football, which means Big Elk TV will be on the air before you know it.
Wynn and Garza are the running backs. Jones under center. Austin, snap, turn, hand off to Wynn. Jaden piles toward. It's a touchdown for the Big Elks.
You'll be able to watch and see if Coach Maynard's brown and white clad Elks can continue their winning ways.
Snap back, play action, lobs it toward the end zone. He's got a man. It's a touchdown for the Big Elks. Tucker Garza.
To get your business on the Big Elk TV screen, call 225-9696 or stop by our office at 220 South Pioneer.
Hey! Is this heaven? No.
It's the Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back, Skinny on Sports 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal, wrapping up a Wednesday here in studio. Thanks to Coach Maynard of the Big Elks. I can't wait to see his guys get out there. Lots been made of the schedule, but at the end of the day, you can say it's coach speak, or you can say, but you know what it is the truth. Those first four games do not matter.
No.
In the grand scheme of things, they don't.
No. They're fun to win them, sure.
But 100%.
But you want to play those teams that, and he made a good point. I liked what he said about Carl Albert. They're going to be fast, and probably the fastest team we'll see this year. And then the next week, everything else seems slowed down, because you just went up against one of those fast teams, arguably one of the best teams in the state, regardless of class, and then everything slows down. So it's a good answer there, and you want to play those teams. Altus is going to be better. Canadian. We saw what Canadian was, so we got a good idea what they could be. They're going to be fast too. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
That was like a 6 water bottle game for me.
Which one?
Canadian.
Man, yeah. Yeah.
It felt like I was auctioneering.
Yeah, you didn't have time.
No, I mean, I kept on thinking, man, I am talking way too much. But they never stopped running plays.
Right, I barely talked, and I could barely play replays.
It was so awesome when we had the ball.
You're right. Let's about ball control.
All right, let's hear from Jared and Daniel for the first time in a quarter.
Yeah. They went lightning fast, but that's the game today, and I mean, I think what I'm really looking forward to outside of the game is getting up to Canadian with enough time to maybe hit up that steakhouse. I don't know. Think we got time? Is it too early in the day to have a steak before the game?
Ooh.
I think a lot of people have that same idea too.
Yeah, that may be the problem. But of course, we get there so much earlier than everybody else that it may be all right.
Is steak at 4:00 too early?
Bring your wallet. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
That would be on the company. There's actually a really good sandwich place there. Yeah, there you go. Better be on the station. It's expensive on the text line.
Yeah.
They make their bread. But I don't
the
know.
Sandwich place you're talking about?
It's really good. But I think it may close like at lunch, like like a lunch type place, not a dinner.
The Bucket
spot. That's it.
The
That's
Bucket?
100% it. Yes, it's awesome. I had my phone away from me, and I'd have loved to have seen Coach Maynard's reaction. We don't normally take. We're not going to take questions for the coach on the text line, for heaven's sakes, because that could steer us down a path we don't want to steer. But this one I saw, and I would love to have seen his reaction. The question was, ask him how his son Max liked the OU football camp. I hate that I didn't see this until he was gone, because I'd have loved to have.
Yeah.
Just I mean, he's pretty intense anyhow.
Yes.
When he's in here, but
yeah.
I think if he was talking about his son being able to experience that, it would have been promo worthy. But dadgummit, I didn't see it till it was too. I didn't see what that. I had my phone turned over. But anyhow, no, good stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think, there's within the district. We talked about it earlier this week or last week. Everybody's got just a little bit of a question mark in certain areas to replace guys. Elk City and Weatherford replacing quarterback. Clinton's got Cooper Sully back, but that Trey Bennett's gone. They've got some guys gone. And so I think there's I really believe, at least to start, before you actually see what happened over the summer, and it's such an important part of growing up and kids and the way they mature or what have you. But I really think that you could just pull one of those 3 names out of the hat, and you'd be comfortable with whichever one you pulled as far as winning the district.
Yeah,
at least to start with.
The schedule. I think schedule is a thing, like where you play. Weatherford coming to Elk City, I think, is a big thing. You get an upstart Weatherford team who I like. I mean, there's a lot of really good players on that team, but they got to come to Big Elk Stadium, and we've proven the last couple of years it's not an easy thing to do to come here and win. Ask good teams like Canadian about that. But then, going to the Tornado Bowl for Elk City, that's always been a struggle. Good teams have gone there and lost. And then Clinton has to go to Weatherford, and Clinton's had some problems with Weatherford as of late. So you're right. You could pick it, depending on how it all shakes out, it wouldn't shock me if any one of the 3 of those teams come out on top. But, man, it's so fun to say those 3 teams, the I-40 Big Dogs in 4A1, are the favorites to win the district title in any order. I love that. That's like our high school days.
No doubt.
How it should be.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, Oak City's looking to beat Weatherford for 3 in a row for the first time in this 1998. Speaking of 1998, Elk City hasn't won at Clinton since 1998. I mean,
the last time last time Elk City went to Clinton, that was a good Elk City team.
Oh yeah,
and
it was a semifinal that played Clinton's socks off in the semifinals,
right?
And got destroyed that night,
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that Tornado Bowl, that allure of the Tornado Bowl that you always hear about.
It is. There's no doubt.
But then Weatherford coming here, and it's going to be an interesting district race here. But I firmly believe the 3 teams are Elk, Clinton, Weatherford in any order. But despite what Elk loses, so does Weatherford, and so does Clinton, and But they've replaced with some. We know what we got right here in Oak City. Clinton will always have a running back, it feels like, and then there's that sophomore class, Weatherford, that's now juniors. That is very interesting. I'm excited about it.
That's the thing when you hear Coach Maynard talk about looking different and how kids grow and mature. That's maybe the one caveat out there, because Weatherford was so sophomore laden. What do they look like now? Just from naturally maturing, getting in the weight room. Is that a team that not only takes a step up, but I think of the three, just with the youth and the experience they gained, that could be one that actually takes a couple of steps up in one season, as opposed to just kind of the ladder, up the ladder approach. That's one that could kind of vault a little bit, I think, with that youth growing up and playing together, and sprinkle in some upperclassmen as well. Of course, those guys are juniors now, but with what they had left, plus those guys, that everybody back on the defense, it was pretty good, and so, as always, injuries will make difference. Unfortunately, it's just the way it goes on the football field, and that can change the trajectory of a lot of things if it's at the wrong spot. But I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Those games, district games, are going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be. I think we're going to be constantly, not that we don't, but even more this year, constantly kind of monitoring the progress of all three of those teams as their games approach with each other. And then obviously I think, not falling into the trap of playing a close one. Here's the truth. Playing a close game against somebody else on the schedule inside the district that you may not have been supposed to play could be the difference in playing at home and playing on the road in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Just, one touchdown given up at the end of a game that affects those district points could be the difference between a home and a road game in week one, and heck, maybe even for the probably not, but possibly for the district title. If they all beat each other and then beat everybody else, it's going to come down to that and how you fared, and that could be pretty wild the way that all ends up. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate Coach Maynard coming by, and we'll continue to pound those dates into your head as far as the availability and the media and that scrimmage a week from Saturday in inter-squad, the 18th of August, that one's at El Reno, and then game 1 in week 0 down in Altus. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow with Skinny on Sports right here on the Sports Animal.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball